Steve, episode 51 of the Broadway Block today. We're going to go over the Metropolitan Division, the standings from last season, and our predictions for this year. And we got a special guest today, Maddie Jack.
Thank you, boys. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Very excited to have you on, man. And very excited to talk about the Metropolitan Division, which was sort of your idea. So interested to see what you're bringing. And we can just start right into it. I feel like I'm going to go as bold as to say that the Rangers are going to take it this year. I feel like we, at least in my opinion, have the strongest case of having the deepest team. I want to say that the Pens are fatiguing, a little old, and it's, sort of to the point where maybe they do miss, or maybe they're close to missing. So I actually have them as the worst team making the playoffs. And the Rangers being, I feel like, the most well-rounded team. Carolina showing a little bit of the Pacioretty injury, maybe sort of scrambling to grab another center. So we'll see how they pan out. But I think that they're a good enough team to sort of still put that pressure on being in first place. And the Capitals signing a goalie that can actually stop a puck might prove to be a good decision for them. They're always competitive until Ovi retires. I don't think that they're going to be a team that we don't have to worry about, which leaves the bottom four. So we'll see where that sort of scrambles out to. What would you say is your front runner for the Metropolitan Division, Maddie?
It has to be the Rangers. It has to be the Rangers. I go back and forth with the idea of it. I to your point, I think that the Canes are gonna give them a tough fight on that. But I just think that with the signing, of Trocheck, getting that depth, with Hedl, and I just feel that with Kravtsov, Hedl, and Semi Blay being healthy, I think that we do have that depth that allows us to make that deep run. And I know that I'm getting ahead of myself here, but at least I put them at first, for the Metro. I really do. I think that there's a lot of variables that have to hit for them to make it. I think that Igor needs to have not the same season that he had last year, because I think it's somewhat unrealistic. But I think that he needs to maintain being the best goalie in the Metro, which I think that no one's going to argue that point right now. But I also think that Kreider needs to be able to keep that hot streak that he went on, that burner. I think that's going to be crucial, and I think that the kids need to step up as well. But if that hits, I don't see a team that's able to compete with us. I really don't. I'm not even mentioning Foxy. I mean, come on. And Miller coming into his own too. Come on. It's easy.
I think that's my favorite part about talking about the Rangers right now, is that I get about 10 players in, and then I go, oh, and that guy.
oh yeah. By the way,
Fox, Miller, everybody like that. Yeah. Can't beat it.
We have a team right now. When did Panarin go for when was he a candidate for the Hart Trophy? When was that? 2019, 2018?
And perennially has put up 1.5 points per game essentially since he's joined the Rangers, which is
he's only getting better. He's like fine wine over there. He's only getting better.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We have a Norris Trophy winner, a Vezina Trophy winner. This team. This is one of my favorite Rangers teams that I've ever watched, easily. They're fun to watch. Their floor isn't as high as some of the other teams that have made those deep runs, but their ceiling is just stupid. It's stupid. I've never had so much fun. I've also never been hurt so much watching a team. But the highs are high.
Isn't that hockey though? Isn't that hockey?
Oh, without a doubt.
You love it and you hate it at the same time.
So yeah. I think we're all on the same page.
Wait! You guys didn't hear mine.
Right. We're all on the same page because.
All right, I got the Rangers coming in at number 2 next year, barring any we haven't suffered any major injuries. Matty Jack hit it out of the park by saying it's kind of dependent on Kreider. Is he going to have another 50-goal season? Also, Igor's got to live up to those expectations of being a Vezina winner, and I don't have the Canes as number 1 because I think the Canes took a step back because I got the list of who they lost. They lost Nino Niederreiter, Ian Cole, Brendan Smith, Trocheck, Max Domi, and Tony DeAngelo. Oh, wow. And they only added Brent Burns, Pacioretty, and re-signed a couple of their people.
Don't forget Pacioretty is going to be hurt for a while.
Half the season, and who knows if he even rehabs enough to come back for that season.
This is also true.
So I got them as the number 3 team in the Metropolitan next year.
With the Rangers as 2?
The Rangers as 2.
Oh, wow. This is,
I know. This is getting spicy. I didn't want to do this. And then I got the Caps as the number 1 team.
Wow.
Steve said it, with them adding like a real goaltender, Dylan Strome. They didn't lose many people last year. Dylan Strome's going to fill in for Tom Wilson and Nicholas Backstrom, who both had offseason surgery. I think, as Steve said before, whenever you have Ovi, you always have a chance. They played us strong last year. They're a tough physical team. But I think we're going to battle back and forth all year with them, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
I'd have to agree with. But, man, I wouldn't.
That is a take.
It's a hot take.
We can agree that the Rangers are here to make a deep push.
Correct.
We can agree that we're here to at least compete for the top spot. And I would probably have to agree with you that there's going to be some flip-flopping happening where it looks like a team has sort of grabbed onto that role until another team is
kind of like the Canes last year. Like one person at the end is just going to kind of just keep going.
Oh, Joe.
I don't know. I
didn't want to say it.
Slots.
I know. I didn't want to come in and say it, but you guys came in so hot.
So Penguins you have as your last team?
Yeah, number 4 making the playoffs, because the Pens like kind of retooled a little bit. They added John Ruda. Since they lost Domingue, they added Tokarski, which we know from watching those Sabres games last year. Like, he had our number like a bunch of times. So I think that's a good backup for Jari like that. They got Gino back over there, re-signed Ricard Raquel. Like, Pens are always going to compete with that,
They never run out of money, do they? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Still haven't figured that one out. Maddie, if you had your last 2 teams in the Metro, is there any shocker down the road? Is there anybody that makes a push for those last 2 spots in your opinion?
We're talking the last 2 spots for the playoffs, right?
Last 2 Metro spots. I mean, like I said, it sounds like we think that Carolina, we all agree that the Rangers are going to be in it. We think Carolina is going to be pushing for a spot. Again, I have Washington as my 3rd team in the Metro.
Yeah, I don't have Washington making the playoffs.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
I don't have them making the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have them making the playoffs. Okay, and I think that a lot of it stems from the idea of Wilson being out. Okay, to start the season.
Sure.
It's those question marks, right? And I think that the story of the Metro is going to be good goaltending. And when I'm looking at these teams, okay, I'm looking at Anderson, I'm looking at the God Igor, okay, and I'm looking at Sorokin, okay, which leads me to my number 3.
Oh!
I have the, similar to you guys talking about the flip-flop, I have the Islanders giving us a run for our money back and forth, okay? I'm talking the Islanders could be number 1 at one point, okay, but I think that they're going to level out at 3. I think that last season, I think there's a lot of recency bias within the NHL. You have to keep in mind that the Islanders started on the road for 12 games straight. Then they battled COVID when the COVID protocol was absurd to where they
were 9 people out.
Yep. Okay. And their head coach, Barry Trotz, he stepped away where Lane Lambert had to fill in at one point. I think their biggest question mark is not having Barry Trotz. I think that they're coming back with the same team virtually. And this is a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals twice. Okay. And I think people forget that this is literally the same exact team, except Sorokin is really coming into his own.
But they are older, and Trotz is gone. I think Lane Lambert coaches the same style because he was with Trotz in Washington. So I don't think they're changing much, but they didn't get much going with Trotz last year. But to your point, started on the road. COVID was a big thing. But do you think Lane Lambert is going to get the best out of all those Islanders?
I think that they didn't, the idea of Lou Lamoriello, okay, is comical to me, saying that he wants a different voice in the room and then signing the guy that has the same exact voice. I think that's hilarious. It's a cop-out. Let's be honest. It's a cop-out, okay? Barry Trotz didn't want to stay there, okay, and he had to save face. But I think that if you look at the latter part of the Islanders season last year, they were on the doorstep. They really were. They were a team that was pushing for it up until the very end. And I think that again, I think they had a rough start. I think that those games in hand, okay, let's just say all that I mean, hindsight is always 2020, okay, and it's a bit of a sunken cost, but you have about 15 games, okay, that could have went a different way had it been different, okay. And yes, okay, if something was different, it would have been different, right? But I still have this team, okay. I have the Islanders in third, and I think that Sorokin is going to be the second best goalie in the Metro. And I know that might be a hot take with Anderson.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that Sorokin is the guy's a stud, okay, and it doesn't hurt that he's Igor's best friend. Maybe you could take a couple of tips from him here and there. So we'll see.
Steve, where did you have the Islanders in your rankings?
I'm looking at 5th place on the outside looking in, but with respect to what you said, Maddie, I think that had the season maybe been a 90-game season, and like you said, maybe the first 13 games or whatever, maybe half of them go to overtime, we have a completely different season on our hands. And they really were putting it together towards the end of the year and kind of playing the spoiler role for people that were trying to soak up those really precious points late in the season. So I think they would be motivated by a fresh slate. And I think the idea, maybe they fell out of the playoff picture so hard that really affected their performance, because as they started to put it together, it almost was too little too late. So I'd be interested to see what that team can kind of rally behind, with the idea of, we got nobody in front of us. It's just keep playing your games and play it day by day. On the topic of Sorokin, I do think he's better than maybe some Rangers fans are willing to admit. And he does sort of have our number so far. There was actually some weird goalie shuffling going around where we didn't necessarily have that Igor Sorokin matchup that we thought that we would to start the year. So I have the Islanders, to answer your question, Joe, just on the outside of the bubble here, with a strong push from the Devils. But again, being the 6th team, I also have Columbus probably lower than people would expect, because I don't see, aside from that top line addition, them really changing much as a team. And the Flyers being the cellar dweller of the Metropolitan Division, which I don't think comes as too much of a surprise. And maybe to shed a little bit more light on my Devils Columbus theory, I feel like the Devils are just a more well-rounded team, whereas Columbus has added the premier talent, but maybe doesn't have the rest of it. But where do you have the Islanders on your list, Joe?
I got them at number 6. I actually put the Blue Jackets ahead, only because I agree with you that they didn't do too much besides adding Johnny Hockey and re-signing Patrick Laine. But I think it's Brad Larsen's second season after Tortorella left, so I believe that they're going to have more rhythm, NHL rhythm, kind of like what we always say about David Quinn, like just needs another shot to get going. So I have them actually over the Isles. So I have Blue Jackets at number 5, Isles at number 6. Then I got the Devs at number 7, because their season's going to fall on if, like, Hughes and everybody gets moving. I actually think the Devils' best off-season move this year was getting Andrew Brunette as an associate coach, because you saw what he did with the Panthers last year when he did a fill-in role. So I think if something happens to the Devils where they're off for the first month, I think they fire Ruff and they put Andrew Brunette. I think that's why they got him, to like power them back up. Like, he's been there before filling in that role. And then we all know what happened with the Flyers. Like, they missed out on Johnny Hockey. I think they traded a lot for D'Angelo. They received D'Angelo in a 7th, but they gave a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, and a 4th round pick for a guy who was just going to be like probably available in free agency.
Wasn't he from Philly anyway? Wouldn't he have, like, just, you know what I mean? Like, if you're maybe just going to pick wherever the heck you play.
Well, he's from South Jersey. As a Jersey guy, we count South Jersey as like Philly. Like,
okay, that's what I thought. I
figured. Ironically, he hates the Flyers, though. Okay, there was he did a Q&A. It had to have been when it had to be before his professional career, okay, or something along the lines of that. But they asked him, a fan asked him who his least favorite team is, and ironically, it was the Flyers. Okay, so yeah, he deserves that though.
He totally deserves being.
I got my people on it. Don't worry, we got to uncover this tweet immediately.
But the Flyers, they brought back Justin Braun, who we saw didn't do that much for us. And then another guy that was in the Giroux trade, they re-signed him. So it's like, okay, you signed the same garbage players that you were selling off at the deadline.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing there?
The Flyers deserve to be bad. The Flyers deserve to be bad. I wish nothing but the worst for them. I think that the idea that they didn't go after Johnny Hockey because they didn't want to make too many moves because it was difficult to move players around. That's like going into your everyday job, okay? And someone asking me, hey, how come we didn't hit a deadline? And I go, because that takes too much work. And
it's too much too hard.
It's just too much. You deserve nothing. You deserve absolutely nothing. You're a garbage franchise. I hope you burn to the ground. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
They are a disgusting franchise. Them and their fans. Okay, so that's my bottom. Not a hot take.
So we finally all agree on something. We all have the Flyers down garbage.
I still can't believe you didn't have the Rangers as first, Joe. I don't think I'm letting you off on that one, but
we'll see. I hope I am wrong.
I hope you are too, man. So the Flyers at 8th place. Okay, no surprise there. How do you construct the rest of the bottom of the Metropolitan?
I have Columbus. Right after them.
You got that? They're over the Devils.
I have the Devil. All right, so I have Pittsburgh clinging that last spot. Okay, I think that's not a big.
I have that too.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big shocker there. I think that Crosby, as long as Crosby's alive, okay, similar to your Ovechkin team, as long as Crosby's around, okay, you're gonna be a competitive team. Then I have after the Penguins, I have the Devils. I think that the Devils are one good goaltender away from being a very dynamic powerhouse team. I don't think that they have that heat, okay, and I think that that's what they're missing. I think that their center depth is dumb. And I don't even want to talk about Jack Hughes. But it hurts. It hurts. But so I have the Devils just outside, and then I have Columbus right after them. Actually, no, I have the Caps after them, and then I have Columbus after that. I have the Caps in the Caps. I don't see them in the playoffs. I just don't. I know that's a hot take.
I hate seeing the Caps in the playoffs because you never know what they could do. So I like that take.
Yeah, I think Wilson and Carlson, okay, and Hagelin, okay, Swaglin, rest in peace, being out, okay. I don't see, like, you have to, those first games, okay, are crucial because they're anybody's game, okay. Like, people are still getting their feet underneath them. I don't want to call them freebies, okay, but if you're able to steal, like, those games, you don't have your team fully figured out yet, okay, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, okay? So you're talking about a team that has had a lot of rest, okay? And I just don't. I think they're going to be rusty. I just don't see it. I don't. But I like the Blue Jackets. I think the Blue Jackets are going to be a competitive team within the next 3 years. I think that they have their prospect pool is certainly developing. Love JD, love what he does, but I don't have him going anywhere realistically for right now. But that could change. Who knows? Anything, it's hockey. You got 80
and it's games. The Metropolitan Division. Like anything can happen there. Everyone's pretty good. Like, teams are gonna be shuffling.
Yeah. I think that the most interesting. I mean, this isn't a hot take, okay? But those 4 spots, I think that are going to rotate throughout the entire season. And I think it's one injury away, okay, from changing the entire dynamic of what the playoffs look like, of what the league standings look like. It's an injury, okay, it's timeout. I really hope that we could stay healthy. I think that we do. I was a little nervous about Foxy, and I think that he was injured. He definitely was injured the latter part of the season, but him in playoffs, he didn't have that finesse that he normally has. So I'm hoping that he comes back stronger than ever. it's ironic when you talk about these players, okay, and you're like, oh, well, they didn't have the pizzazz that they had, or they didn't have that fire that they normally have, and they're still putting up ridiculous stats.
Right.
Okay,
we had talked about that on the block. We had said that when Fox came back, like it took a couple weeks before he was like, I think it was like 3 or 4 games before he got a point again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, and then but then you talk about like Panarin, right? Okay, I remember during the Pittsburgh series. Okay, I'm looking at Panarin, and we're at the game. It was Ryan and Ryan Mead and I at the game, name dropping. So we're at the game, okay, and he goes, man, Panarin just looks invisible. The dude has 3 points that game. Okay. And we're like, oh yeah, I just don't see it from Panarin. Like, it is absurd. Imagine having a guy that you expect more from, and he's putting up these dumb numbers. Same thing with Fox. Okay. It's a good issue to have. Okay.
Yeah.
When
Toughest fan base market in all major sports.
There's some credence there. I mean, like, Fox, I think what we're used to is Fox can take over a game. So like, we're not talking about like, oh, he had a couple points. Like, we're used to Fox dictating the pace of the game. Like I'm going to hold on to the puck. You're going to line change. Then you're going to skate in and I'm going to give it to you. And then I'm going to be over here. Like, Fox is the maestro. So for him to come out there and play, if he plays, that's one thing. But I think to Ryan's point and to your point is that, we have a good problem in that I do think there's even more to Panarin's game. I think that there's levels that we have. I think there's 100-point season in that dude easily. And a lot of this is going to, like you said, to kind of come full circle, really rely on us being a healthy team. I think that this team is susceptible to some injuries, and our depth is really going to make or break if that does happen to us, how much of a wound it is for us. And again, to your point, I do see certain teams, maybe it's the Caps, maybe it's the Penguins, that maybe fall into this sort of Islanders bad luck where you have a few bad games in a row that lead you on a terrible path down the season. I hope that we're able to bounce back from it, but it does look like an injury-prone team, or at least a team that if we do hit that injury bug can really hurt us. So, I mean, barring all of that happening, I don't see a reason why Panarin can't have a 100-point season. I don't see a reason why Adam Fox can't put up 80 points and show us the Norris caliber defenseman that he's going to be for a long time. And I think if you put all that together and you have a fantastic season from Igor, there's nothing to be afraid of. Injuries is what I would be personally.
Yeah, I'm afraid of injuries to somebody on like the second line or something like that. Here's a question. Do you think Keandre could put up more points than Fox next year?
Next year, no.
No, not next year.
No.
Not where they're at in their development. And again, the way that Foxy just sort of owns that role of really being the leader. Keandre, though, sky's the limit, man. I think this last year, in my opinion, was a real showing, coming out party.
Playoffs was like incredible watching him out there.
Well, I think he has the physical tools that he's still growing into. I think he has the mindset of that forward that he used to be. I think he has all the tools and all the qualities that you look. I mean, has poise under pressure. I've never seen him bummed out or in a bad. I mean, he's just a happy-go-lucky dude, and combine that with having the captain of the team putting you under their wing and showing you the way that NHL players play. I think if you add some of that physicality to his game, I mean, he's going to be a nightmare to deal with. I mean, the reach is already a gigantic problem. He's up there against the league's best players.
He shoots first too.
Absolutely. I would love to see him shoot more. I mean, like you see some of those plays where he sort of like drove to the net and kind of, the shootout goal stands up in my mind, but he's certainly shown those offensive flashes. But for me, I think all that's going to shine in his game if he can work on that all around game and just wait for those opportunities to come out and just finesse them and, capitalize on the move where he pokes the puck away or bodies somebody off of it. I think that we're going to see a different animal when he starts to have that sort of confidence. And it's also what's being asked of him. You know what I mean? If he can maybe get a second line power play time, if we can shift away some of that, minute and 30 from the first unit to maybe more like a minute and 20, minute and 10, and get guys like him out there with the puck and a stick, I think that we can expect moving forward some good numbers, but I wouldn't say he outscores Fox.
Does he have a contract year?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you are correct, man.
I think you are right, Manny J.
It's amazing. It's amazing what a contract year will do for your points.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm gonna say. Okay?
Absolutely.
And again, it's a good issue to have. Yeah, that's going to be a contract. That's going to
Oh, it's a hard issue for us with our cap hits.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Because I think we got a couple people due next year.
yeah, Lafreniere. I think Lafreniere and Miller are the big guys. And I think Heedle.
Yeah, I think Heedle is due as well. So I think it's Heedle, Laugh, and Keandre.
That's going to be it. I hope that for our sake, okay, we give them that fat contract, okay. But I hope for their bank accounts, okay, that they bet on themselves and take that bridge, okay. I think that's what it's going to have to be. There's no way that we're going to be able to move things around that way.
I'll tell you what, as some news I didn't want to hear, man. This is Keandre's contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RFA 23 to 24. So
yep. Yeah, he's going to be. I think that he's going to put up dumb numbers now.
So are we going back and saying he's putting up more than Fox numbers now that it's a contract year?
No. But to your point, I mean, like it will do a lot. You know, it will the drive to play well is always there. None of these guys have it in them to just not go to the rink and try their hardest. But the real drive becomes when you're putting food on the table for your family. I feel like all of us that go to work can understand what the drive that you have when you feel uncertain about things, or you feel like if I go as hard as I can, I will be even more certain of things. And I feel like that's the testament to mankind, that we're all just trying to do 100% the best. But if you have that little fire under you, man, watch out, because I've already seen Keandre, a motivated Keandre is a scary, scary thought. But if we're talking contracts, I mean, what do you think about the Kako bridge? Because I feel like similarly, it puts us on a proper timetable. We have, roughly speaking, two seasons to figure out, what we have in this guy here. What do we think about where we sit as far as contracts are concerned?
I Jekyll and Hyde this a lot, and not just Kako, but our valuation of prospects. Okay, and he's not a prospect anymore. Okay, but I'm torn on it because I love Kako. I love Kako. I think that he could be a great player, but I like the contract. Okay, I like the bridge. I don't know if he's ever going to be the player that those comps had him at. Okay, we had him. He was supposed to be this powerhouse, and I don't necessarily know now that if he has that capability. And I think that expectations are allowed to change. I think that is the biggest thing, and I think that a lot of people get caught up on the idea of, oh, well, you said he was going to be this. Yeah, well, there a lot of things change. Okay, I don't think that. I mean, you look at Lundqvist. Okay, and did anybody expect Lundqvist to be Lundqvist? Okay, when they drafted him. Okay, what did he go, like 5th round or something along the lines of that? Lundqvist 7th. Okay, exactly. So did anybody expect Lundqvist to be Lundqvist? No. Okay, expectations are allowed to change. I, for one, am happy with that Kako contract.
I just feel like, to your point with the expectations, when you are like, look, Hank exceeded expectations by being a 7th round draft pick. Like, is there too much pressure on Kako because he was could he have been the number 1 pick? And in Kako's defense, we haven't seen, like, he's had COVID years,
Yeah.
and then he got injured.
And he is injury prone. Okay, I mean he is injury prone too. I think I expect more out of Lafreniere than I do Kako at this point. And I don't think that that's a hot take. I think that Lafreniere actually beats out Kako for that right wing spot. I don't think that we see Lafreniere. I think that you'll see it once or twice, but I don't think I see Lafreniere staying on that left wing that third spot there. I see him first right wing.
That's one thing that I think that we're gonna touch on next video, but as a thing that I expect to see, totally to your point, is that I see Lafreniere on the right wing in a second line role. Kako is going to be in the first line for maybe 10 games. That's not going to work, and Laf is going to be up on that top line. He's going to find immediate chemistry because they already played with those dudes before. Kako is going to take a little bit of a bump.
I want to see Laf get power play time.
I do too.
No, on that bumper spot. Come on.
I want him in that
I
bumper
can't help
spot.
myself. Sorry for the outburst, guys. I want to see him.
No,
I think we all
bumper
do.
spot would be great. I think that would be a fantastic way to utilize his skill sets and to maybe let him shoot a little bit more, because there's going to be so many opportunities with playing with guys like Panarin and pass first players that are going to want to distribute you the puck, and you can't hesitate on those opportunities. So I think that would make him a more well-rounded player. I think that that's going to give him that jolt of confidence, because we started to see it. You remember that goal,
swagger,
the legs, just for some
We were
context,
at that game, Matty Jacks.
right? This was mid-April that we saw that move, which led to the playoffs, where we saw the confidence, which led to the shift, which led to the moments that we love and have remembered, because this is what we expected. The level of expectation was always high for Lafreniere and Kakko, but this is the moment that we would all kind of been waiting for, to like let those little bits of momentum start to churn, and then to see where he can kind of slide up, and trades like Booch sort of start to make sense when you have to distribute this line time and get these guys into a role where they can feel elevated and they're not just these third line secondary players. So I think it all bodes well for us. I think that again, minus some injuries to some key players, I think that we're uniquely positioned to have a lengthy playoff push, and hopefully a season that we don't forget for a really long time. So I'm nothing but excited.
I'm hoping it's better than 22 even. It makes us forget the sting of the loss to Tampa. I'm hoping we come out opening night, October 11th, and just fucking crush them 3-0. Shut up.
Will we see you at a Rangers game sometime soon, Matty?
You will. You definitely will. I'm on the fence with opening night still. I'm teetering back and forth with it.
Keep us in the loop, my friend.
Yeah, I definitely will.
We'll be there.
I think that I need to see Lafreniere more. I think that one of my favorite Lafreniere moments, not to hijack back, okay, but one of my favorite Lafreniere moments is it was a shootout against the Kings, okay, and Byfield scores. Okay, Lafreniere scores right after him, skates by the bench with the number 1. Are you kidding? Like, this kid has swagger. Get him on the power play. Get him on the power play.
That's the thing. I want to see, because Sellies from the WHL, they don't mean anything, but you watch some of these clips where this guy had confidence. This guy was the guy his whole life. So I would love to see a little bit of that confidence breathed into him. And I think when you see those little taunts, I think when you see those little moments, you see a glimmer of the guy that has the swagger, has the confidence, and knows that he can be the catalyst role. Because if he doesn't score that goal, by the way, we're reading articles about that in August. We're continuing to hear about that story for a long, long time after.
And he's already a bust after that. Okay.
Yeah, it's
from around the NHL, they say that, and I'm like, every night I watch him get better. I'm like, I don't know when I read these articles from around the NHL, like, what do you want from this man? Like, every night
points are
they're not watching it. They're not watching.
Points are a thing, but
it has everything to do with the perception. And I listen, they're professionals. This is quiet to them. This is noise to us. You know what I mean? Because we let it in. That's why we're not professional athletes. But they can shut that out. And I think that for Laugh, when you watch him play, this is the last I'm going to talk about how much I love this dude. When you watch this dude play, I see youthful exuberance. I see the same excitement that when I was 16 and like my teammate would smack a home run and we would all be just jonesing about it. I see that same kid-like level. The dude sticks his tongue out. He's blowing bubbles.
He's dancing in the locker room. Come on.
He does the little wiggle. You see?
Come on.
He's got swagger. He's got swagger.
This team is fun.
This kid represents what I want. Like when you set up a team, you need modders, you need revos, you need laughs, you need dudes that are going to be fun to be around in that locker room, because there's going to be tough nights, man. There's going to be self-doubt, there's going to be depression, there's going to be moments of thinking we don't have it, and you need those guys that they're not even they're thinking about completely other than that. So I think that we're so lucky. I mean, winning the lotto is a crazy luck thing, but we're so lucky to have the bodies that we do. And it's a good problem to have, that we can kind of speculate and see like, well, he could be better. Maybe we got another better season out of it, but nothing but good things ahead, in my opinion.
I'll leave you with one last hot take. I think Kravtsov beats out Kakko for that second right wing.
For the second spot. I mean, I would. you know, again, with what I said, I would maybe kind of agree with you because I feel like we're going to give him that chance. And, you know, the season starts to get going and you have to make some decisions. But would it be the worst thing to get a third line scoring depth winger for at least this season? No. Would I want it to be
I'm okay with
Kakko?
the battle for it. Like, you know, let them battle it out. Like, and Kako should get a little pressure. Like, you are in your bridge contract.
Yeah.
You do need to prove yourself. Like, you're not running off those draft analytics now that you were like the number 1-2 guy like that.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
Matty,
got to
I
prove it.
cannot thank you enough for your time, brother. It was a
Maddie,
lot of
thank
fun.
you.
Oh, it's a
so much.
pleasure. It was a pleasure, boys. This was a blast. I really enjoyed this. Thank you guys for having me on.
Awesome, man. Well, the
We'll
offer's
definitely have
over,
you
brother.
back. Thank you so much, Maddie. Let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers. Let's get after it.
Take care, brother.
All right, take care.